In this video, I'm going to show you how to do really nice looking beach themed bases, whether it's for Idoneth Deepkin or for any other model, with Caribbean themed sort of white sands and turquoise waters. And we're starting right now. What's going on, guys? Jared here from MiniJunkie. Welcome to another video. If this is your first time here and you're interested in the hobby of painting miniatures, playing miniature games, any of that kind of related stuff, consider subscribing and clicking the bell notification so you don't miss anything. It took me a while to figure out how I wanted to base the Idoneth Deepkin models I've been painting. And the reason for that is, despite the fact that, you know, in the fluff or the lore, it's all about how they're in this sort of ethereal ocean magical thing that's on land. So you got giant turtles swimming by on a grassy plain. Honestly, I wanted to go with the sea theme somehow. I wanted to do water theme basing and just really lean into that sort of aquatic vibe that they have. So grass and rocks weren't going to do it. Did take some experimenting, but I found a method and a couple products where I'm very happy with the final result. I'm going to show you how I do them. And again, this is something you can apply either to your Idoneth Deepkin or to any other model where you want to create like a beach or watery aquatic type of theme for your bases. And let's go over to the painting table and I'll show you how I've done these.
Before we begin, here's a quick look at what the final bases look like, just so you have an idea of what we're going for here. First step uses the new Ironrach Skin base paint. You're just going to paint this on the base. You don't have to thin it or anything, because it's just to cover up the black and give a nice undercolor for the sand we're going to apply. Paint it all around the side where you want the sand, including the feet, assuming you want him to be standing in the sand. And you create a nice sort of organic, irregular shoreline effect as you paint it on. You could also do this after the next step to create this sort of sand going over the blue. For the water, I use scale 75 Caribbean blue. I'll list alternatives in the description. I didn't film this part very well, but just cover up the area where you're going to want the water to be. This creates a nice undercolor for it. For the sand, I'm using Vallejo gray sand ground texture. It's really perfect for this, I find. It's a nice sort of beige kind of sand, very light color, but it's got little flecks of black and a little bit of I want to say sparkle. It's very, very subtle though, so it looks like you might picture sand on this kind of beach where it's not perfectly white and it's not dark tan colored. You want to use an older, small brush to apply this. Next step is Ultramarine Vallejo Game Air. I airbrush this, but you can also just paint it on fairly thin, and then working towards darker towards the edge of the base. Next step is Vallejo Water Texture Atlantic Blue. I believe they actually have one that's also a lighter shade if you want to use that. And I just painted all over the blue that we've painted on so far. Next step is a bit of a hack. Take a rounded, pointed toothpick like you can get at the grocery store and create a few wherever there's a bit of a thicker bit of the blue texture paint. If you just dab the side of the toothpick on it, it'll sort of pull it upward in a nice line and you can create these wave effects. For the foam, I found the Vallejo foam effect much too opaque and thick, and I just didn't really like the look of it. I used an old water effects from Woodland Scenics, or you could use any water effects from like Secret Weapon or Vallejo, and then I added just a tiny bit of Ulthuan gray, or any kind of light gray you could use, and just mix it in so that when this dries, it's going to dry translucent or transparent, and then the Ulthuan will give it that little bit of white, so it's not like overly white, it's kind of a translucent grayish white. I applied this using a similar sort of side of the rounded toothpick effect, and I also added it thicker around the shoreline, obviously where the foam would build up. If you've applied like seashells or anything to the water area, just go ahead and apply this mixture of water effect to around the base of it, and it'll create a nice foamy base around it. Here's what the bases look like when they're finished. Nice organic irregularity to each one, which is cool. Again, you can vary the types of blues you use or the lightness of the water texture you choose. to create different sort of tones for your water depending on what your preference is. Between each step, including the sand texture, make sure you give them quite a bit of time to dry. And when you're done, avoid applying any kind of matte varnish to the water area, because otherwise it'll kind of wreck that nice watery shine you've got going. In person, this effect looks absolutely gorgeous. I think you're going to love it.
So that's how I do my beach bases. I hope you found this informative. If you did, I hope you'll consider subscribing, sharing, and liking the video. Sharing and leaving a comment, things like that will help me grow the channel and continue to produce these tutorials for you guys. It's really enjoyable, and I hope you get a lot of value out of it. But that's it for now, and we'll see you next time.